excuse me, AB 1019 by Speaker Perez has been pulled from today's file. We will now take up AB 744.
No, it's 1456. I'm
sorry.
Oh, it's 744. I'm sorry. There it is right there. My mistake. Thank you. Madam Chair and members, AB 744 establishes the Office of Intellectual Property within the Business, Transportation, and Housing Agency with various responsibilities. To date, there is no clear accounting of what intellectual property the state owns or the types of agreements state agencies have entered into. As technology continues to advance, state agencies without sufficient knowledge of how to protect intellectual property will become increasingly vulnerable to unauthorized use and unable to capitalize on reduced contract costs or increasing revenue to the state. 3 reports on the issue have expressed need to establish a centralized intellectual property tracking system: the Bureau of State Audit, California Council on Science and Technology, and the California Performance Review. This disjointed system ultimately costs the state more money. California has received national and international attention for the work done in the area of intellectual property, especially since the passage of Proposition 71. Despite the attention and acknowledgement of the importance to protect the state's IP, nothing has been done. It has been 11 years since the first report was published. AB 744 sets up the framework to determine what intellectual property the state owns and informs state agencies of their rights and abilities to protect the state's intellectual property. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Any witnesses in support of the bill? Witnesses in opposition? Is there a motion? Oh, yes, Mr. Hyman.
I'm not sure we have this, but we're sitting there trying to reduce our budget here in the state, and I know this is a new department. I totally agree with its mission, but I'm trying to figure out, do you have any estimates on what's going to cost to do this, both short-term and long-term, to add another department to the state at this point?
Well, I don't think it's another department. It's just within the. It's
another section though. So I assume you have you're going to have to add staff that's going to be designed with this mission. So it's going to cost us something, and we're sitting there trying to figure out how to save money left and right as well. So does the work this office will do actually make us more money, and maybe it offsets it? I don't know.
Yeah, and I appreciate the question, Mr. Hagman. The funding will offset the costs that will come forward, but I think more importantly is that the savings to the state of the lost IP that we have now that will probably more than offset the cost, and that's the fact that we are, and as the state, the Bureau of State Audits confirmed that they found that we really don't know what we have.
Yeah, well, most of our research and development is in partnerships through our universities. I got a great tour of this to the UC campus, the one I'm coming from as well, and they list all the patents that the UC has, and those are partnerships developed with private outside companies, and so someone is keeping track. I just don't know
this doesn't pertain to those.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering how this is different than the individual partnerships that the lower level that we already have. It's just to combine them or to look at them, or
it will keep it separate. The UC system is independent, and they have their own management of their intellectual property. This is for state facilities, state functions, state operation, and state intellectual property, where we own that intellectual property, and in many cases it's been stolen, been lost, or we're not getting the revenue and the royalties that we should be getting from it because of the fact that we don't have an accounting of it and knowledge of it today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there a second? I'm going to accept that as your close, Mr. Hill. We have a motion on the bill. Please call the roll.
Motions do pass to appropriation. Hayashi?
Aye.
Hayashi, aye. Berryhill?
Abstain.
Allen?
Aye.
Allen, aye. Butler? Aye. Butler, aye. Ing?
Aye.
Ing, aye. Hagman? Hill?
Aye.
Hill, aye. Ma? Aye. Ma, aye. Smythe?
6-0, that measures out.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, members.
We're going to hear from Ms. Ma next. Mr. Hagman, would you like to add on now, or?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members. AB 431 will create a retired designation for certified public accountants through the California Board of Accountancy. Currently, when a CPA wants to retire, the licensee has two choices: either pay the state to maintain an inactive license, which costs the same as an active license, or cancel or surrender their license. Accountants who have practiced for many years are very proud of their profession and believe a delinquent, canceled, or surrendered status is undignified, and they want to avoid it. However, many retired licensees who simply want to just stop paying for the active or inactive license fee have no other choice. In California, at least 7 other Department of Consumer Affairs boards offer their professionals a retired status option, including doctors, dentists, pharmacists, architects, and engineers. In the United States, at least 20 state accountancy boards offer a retired designation. AB 431 allows the California Board of Accountancy to reestablish a process for CPAs to receive a retired designation while providing licensees and consumer protections. It places a cap on the fees equivalent to sitting out for 5 years to ensure the designation is intended for a licensee who is permanently retiring and not just seeking temporary relief from license renewal. AB 41 also ensures that licensees facing disciplinary action be prevented from receiving the retired designation. With me today is Sally Anderson, President of the California Board of Accountancy.
Thank you. You have a motion. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Oh, you want?
Would you like to testify? You don't have to.
Oh, I don't have to. Okay.
Okay.
Everything
Any
said,
other
I
witness?
agree with.
Okay. Any other witnesses in support?
Jim Gross on behalf of the California Society of Certified Public Accountants in support.
Thank you. Any other witnesses wishing to testify on the bill? I don't think we have witnesses in opposition. Any questions from committee members? Hearing none, we have a motion. Second. Thank you.
Motion is due pass to appropriation. Hayashi?
Aye.
Hayashi, aye. Berryhill? Berryhill, aye. Allen? Allen, aye. Butler? Butler, aye. Ing? Ing, aye. Hagman? Hagman, aye. Hill? Hill, aye. Ma? Ma, aye. Smythe?
8-0, that measures out. Mr. Berryhill, would you like to present your bill?
Madam Chair, members,
Mr. Vice Chair?
currently the vast majority of people who provide behavioral analysis in their scope of practice are certified by the Behavior Analyst Certification Board, a national accreditation. While this board has some disciplinary procedures, the practicing individuals are not regulated or overseen by any state licensing or credentialing authority. This leaves California consumers lacking any protection or recourse when there is any concern with the services provided by the unlicensed individuals. Assembly Bill 1205 will require that individuals holding themselves out as a behavior analyst or assistant behavior analyst will be licensed by the Board of Behavioral Sciences. This bill specifies that the licensing examination, education, and experience that are required for becoming licensed, thus providing California consumers the ease of mind that they are meeting with a qualified individual. Recent amendments that I've taken on the measure make this a full practice act rather than just a title act. In addition, the amendments push the effective date of the licensing requirement out to January 1st, 2015. I believe that this acknowledges the current workload constraints the board is facing and allows time for the sponsors to continue to work with all interested parties. I'd like to thank the stakeholders who have worked with my office up to this point and believe that any additional concerns can be addressed as we move forward. With me today to testify is Jim Gross and Jane Howard of the California Association of Behavioral Analysts to testify on behalf of the measure.
Thank you. Witnesses in support.
Yes, Madam Chair, members, Jim Gross, and I do represent the California Association of Applied Behavior Analysis. The principal focus of this service is the treatment of autism. And as you all well know, there has been a dramatic increase in diagnosis of this condition. At the same time, the state's resources are dwindling for providing these services within regional centers and the like. The demand that parents face in terms of providing a qualified individual to help their child is so great, and the need for them to have some standard to look at and to understand is equally great. And we believe that the best way to serve these families at the same time protecting consumers generally is to achieve licensure. We believe that the Board of Behavioral Sciences is the best place for that. We have been working with the board. We have met with both their staff and a subcommittee. Clearly, as Mr. Berryhill said, their workload is huge right now, and they need time for them to be able to continue their current workload before taking on this responsibility. In addition, the 2015 date addresses concerns about grandfathering providers who currently don't meet certain standards but have, for an extensive period of time, provided services in the community. Those individuals need the opportunity to determine what certification they want to get. Other organizations may become nationally accredited and also offer that certification. We've heard from another number of organizations who would like to do that. The 2015 date provides everybody the opportunity to get ready for what is essential, and that is full licensure. We are working with a number of groups that have raised various questions about exactly what requirements are needed, the education requirements, et cetera. We will continue to work with those groups, but I think that at this point we feel we have a practice act that will protect the consumer and will address something else that is fundamental, and that is that the health insurers in California have taken the position that behavior analysts are not qualified to provide services for which they would be reimbursed because they are not licensed. We do not agree with that legal interpretation. That is in court at this point in time, but we still believe that licensure will take care of that argument, if you will. And so we strongly ask for your support. I have with me Jane Howard, who is with the California Association of Applied Behavior Analysis, and she can answer any questions you have. I think also it would be good, we have a couple of individuals here from the community who would like to speak to the need for this, and I'd like to have them do that.
Great, welcome.
Hello. My name is Alicia Neves, and my son Mikey has autism. I am sincerely asking for your help in getting AB 1205 into law. This bill is extremely important for consumers to be able to identify professionals with appropriate training and experience to provide applied behavior analysis, also known as ABA. This bill may also help eliminate one argument insurance companies have used to deny coverage for ABA service, and I have had firsthand experience with this. My insurance provider cut off Mikey's critical treatment because, as they stated, the individual providing the service is not a licensed provider. And you can imagine the grief I felt as a mother when my son's life-changing intervention was terminated because there is no established license for board-certified behavior analysts. ABA is vital for our children. It is the most effective treatment for autism. Before ABA, my son had very limited skills. He now speaks, he plays, and he has great social skills. But families need to be protected and receive quality ABA provided by board-certified behavior analysts. And I cannot stress enough how important this bill is to me and many, many families like mine. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next witness.
Hi, my name is Steve Gonzarowski, and I'm the father of an autistic child. And I'm hoping that you're going to vote yes on this today as well. As I see this, licensing is critical for protecting our children. Today, the way it works is the regional centers or the school districts, they provide the funding. They also provide us parents with a list of contacts on who we should go to. So they provide this kind of screening service to us today. As we move forward and we see this move from funding public to the private, where insurance is going to pick that up, without that screening in place, without any kind of licensing, parents don't really have the ability, or a lot of us aren't qualified necessarily to go out and pick service providers, so that puts us at risk. It puts our kids at risk. The other point I wanted to make today was that the privatization of funding does put the burden on insurance, and as previously mentioned, insurance isn't going to cover any organizations or entities that aren't licensed. So we're really encouraging you to say yes so that we do get that licensing so that our kiddos can continue to get covered and get the services that they desperately need. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other witnesses in support?
Thank you. Jim Lantry, representing the DIR Floor Time Coalition of California. DIR Floor Time is a developmental treatment for autism. ABA isn't the only kind of treatment for autism, but for those children that need ABA, it is essential. And as the father of 2 special needs children, let me tell you that it is also essential for parents to know that the people that are treating our children are licensed, they're certified, they're qualified. There's a time when you're told that your child has a special need, there's a certain amount of desperation. You'll take anything that you can to help that child. And it is important that that parents are not victimized at that point by people who do not have the qualifications. This bill makes sure that they do. For those kids that need ABA, it is essential that this bill be passed so that parents know that the people providing that service are qualified to do it, and these children can get the help they need. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other witnesses in support?
Good morning. My name is Janet Rodriguez. I represent the California Association of Private Special Education Schools. We represent non-public schools and agencies that are certified in the state to provide services to students who have exceptional needs. Amongst the students who our schools and agencies provide services to are students who are on the autism spectrum, and as such, we believe that the bill's intent to provide a formal licensure to applied behavior analysts and assistant behavior analysts serves a purpose, as stated previously by other witnesses. And so we are in full support.
Great. Any other witnesses in support? Witnesses in opposition?
Hi, my name is Brandon Tartaglia. I'm from Disability Rights California. Please forgive the late opposition to this bill. Our board just took up the issue on Friday, and we're addressing it now. Right now, we have an oppose unless amended position. While we applaud the author's efforts to ensure that individuals who have behavioral challenges receive behavioral services from qualified professionals, we have concerns with the bill as it's currently written. We think the requirements for assistant behavioral analysts are too strict. A bachelor's degree may be too onerous and isn't required now. These requirements could create a shortage of qualified personnel and make people who already do these jobs no longer qualified. As it's written, it isn't clear if this will affect school providers for special ed, and it isn't clear how these requirements would be taken by the regional center system. Would they no longer accept anyone who isn't licensed, exacerbating a shortage? Also, how would this interplay with federal law? Would it now require a license to perform this work and receive federal money, since this would be the new set of qualifications in the state? We just recommend that these issues be clarified in the bill, and we recommend the requirements for assistance in the bill be amended to be more in line with that of other assistant providers, such as those for assistants in speech and language and assistant occupational therapists, which only require an associate's degree. We'd be happy to work with the author's office to help clarify some of the issues I mentioned, and also to help come up with more appropriate requirements for assistance.
Sure, I would be happy to, have you come to the office and sit down and talk about those thoughts that you have, and see if we can't work with something out for you.
Thank you.
Any other witnesses in opposition?
Madam Chair and members, Tim Shannon representing the California Association of Marriage and Family Therapists. The author's taken a number of amendments that make this bill a lot better. We have no turf issues with this bill, really. The main concern is one of resources. As you mentioned, I'm going to let our executive director go into that. The Board of Behavioral Sciences currently is stretched to its limits, and to add a new provider group is going to make that worse.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Mary Remersma, California Association of Marriage and Family Therapists, and currently the Board of Behavioral Sciences regulates marriage and family therapists, clinical social workers, educational psychologists, and they've been taking on the responsibility now to also license professional clinical counselors, so that is a new license for them. They were given in law the funding to take on the LPCCs, but not the ability to get the staffing to have to staff with this new license that they have responsibility for. So we have concerns that the Board of Behavioral Sciences right now is running greater than 4 months behind on applications for licensure, which of course means people can't be productive members of society if they can't get their licenses. So our concern really is about the staffing issue, and we would want to see that the BBS gets the staffing to do this work that is needed. We do believe that it is important to assure that people who are doing behavioral analysis have the right qualifications, and that there is a mechanism for the public to go to a state agency when they're dissatisfied with the services that they've received. There's one other little piece of this that we also have a concern about, and I understand it's going to be corrected, but I believe it's still in the amended version of the law, and that is the fact that it says that behavior analysts cannot do a number of things, and one of those things is long-term counseling, which leaves open that they could do short-term counseling. And we understand that the long-term counseling is being taken out, but I see it still in the amended version. So those are our issues, but we do believe that the intent behind the bill is good. It's just the difficulty with how to administer this.
Yeah, that's recognizing the workload. That's why we pushed it back to 2015 to try to help out, and hopefully things will be doing better by then. Hopefully for all of us, things are doing better by then. I'll let Jim Gross respond to the other issue there.
And yes, Madam Chair, we do want to make an amendment that deals with the concern about the counseling issue. We do not consider applied behavior analysis counseling, and that reading is accurate, but the reference was inadvertent, so we will fix that.
Thank you.
Amanda Levy on behalf of the California Psychological Association. We have an opposed unless amended position. We've had a couple of good conversations with the sponsors of the bill, and we're hopeful we can move forward to remove our opposition. In general, we're not opposed to licensure. We do have some of the concerns that we've raised are on the scope of practice of the practitioners. We're working on language just to ensure that psychologists who are currently trained and doing this work will not be restricted in other code sections. In the new amendments, we want to see greater differentiation, which we'll work on between the master's and the bachelor's level. And then we are hopeful to give suggestions on the nature of supervision, because we start talking about supervision, but it's not delineated as it is in other practice acts. So with those issues in mind, we look forward to continuing to work with the author and hopefully to remove our opposition, but we are currently opposed unless amended. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other witnesses in opposition? Any questions from committee members? Yes, Mr. Hagman.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Mr. Vice Chair. I was wondering, when we talked about the staffing issues and stuff, doesn't our general concept is the license fees hopefully keeps that department running for the staffing? So if you're adding a new license, there's fees. Shouldn't that not help them get some of the staffing?
Yes, Mr. Hagman. The Department of Consumer Affairs will do a calculation based upon the number of individuals that we believe will be eligible for licensure, and they will establish a fee on that basis. Whether, in fact, that will meet all of the costs, we'll have to wait for the Board of Behavioral Sciences to give us that feedback. But generally speaking, the goal is for the fee to adequately cover the cost associated with it. But I can't speak for the Board of Behavioral Sciences right now. All I can say is that that's what is supposed to happen.
Hopefully that's what's supposed to happen. So
theoretically.
Well, Madam Chair, it sounds like there's some work in progress with this, but the author seems like he's on top of it, so I'll move it with that.
Word. Okay, great. Would you like to close?
Yeah, just I can't add a lot to what what my witnesses have said. Clearly, this is a bill about helping parents and helping autistic children, and it's an important bill. Does it still have some work? Absolutely, but we will, and we are committed to working with these folks. So with that, I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. I think this is an important bill to increase mental health workers for California, and I really applaud you and the sponsor for working on this bill. If I could just recommend that we continue to talk with the Disabilities Rights Coalition, who didn't submit a letter until today, so I didn't realize that they had opposition to this bill. So I encourage you to continue working with them. With that, I think we have a motion and a second. Please. We don't have a second.
Motion is due pass is amended to due pass to appropriations. Hayashi.
Aye.
Hayashi, aye. Berryhill.
Aye.
Berryhill, aye. Allen. Allen, aye. Butler. Butler, aye. Ing. Ing, aye. Hagman. Hagman, aye. Hill. Hill, aye. Ma. Ma, aye. Smythe. Smythe, aye.
9-0.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Mr. Manny Perez, thank you for waiting. We have a nice small business bill. Thank you. You have a motion already and a second. Welcome to Assembly BMP.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair and members. I appreciate the motion.
It's been moved about 3 times now.
Well, in that case, I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you very much. Witnesses in support.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. Lori Kammerer, Small Business California, representing 5,000 small businesses in California, and also the California Coalition on Small and Disabled Veteran Businesses. We are very supportive of this bill.
Great, thank you.
Cindy Hillary, Regional Council of Rural Counties, in support of the bill.
Thank you. Any other witnesses in support? Witnesses in opposition? Hearing none. Would you like to close?
I respectfully ask for an aye vote, Madam Chair.
Thank you. That's the best statement I've heard. Thank you. Please call the roll.
Due pass to Jobs Committee. Hayashi.
Aye.
Hayashi, aye. Berryhill. Berryhill, aye. Allen. Allen, aye. Butler. Butler, aye. Ing. Hagman. Hagman, aye. Hill. Ma. Ma, aye. Smythe. Smythe, aye.
7-0. That measures out.
Thank you, members.
Thank you. Members, we have item number 15, AB 1167 by Assemblymember Fong on call. Please call the absent members.
Berryhill. Hagman. Hill. Ma. Ma, aye. Smythe.
5-0, that measures out. Members wishing to add on could do so now.